Joe Fortenbaugh here for OddsShark. Welcome to your NFC Championship preview. Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, it's the 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles hosting the 2 seed San Francisco 49ers from Lincoln Financial Field in South Philadelphia. Quickly, let's begin with the weather. High of 50 degrees in Philadelphia on Sunday. Chance of snow later in the evening. Winds between 5 and 10 mile an hour. All's looking pretty good for the NFC Championship to be held in a venue like that this time of year. As for injuries, 2 teams coming in with relatively clean bills of health. Keep your eye on Niners running back Christian McCaffrey. Suffered a bit of a calf injury late in Sunday's win over the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously worth monitoring considering what he brings to that offense. Let's look at the market. Philadelphia opened as a 1.5 point favorite. It was quickly bet up to 2.5, and that 2.5 is now juiced, meaning the number's more likely to go to 3 than it is to go to 2. But I think if you see 3, that's when San Francisco money is likely to hit the market. Total open 45.5, still 45.5. So let's launch into the analysis. We begin with the side. We'll all play Philadelphia minus 2.5 over the Niners. Now last week, I told you how much I love the Eagles over the Giants. All right, that was a large wager, and it worked out for us. This is not as big a wager. Keep that in mind, okay? Few elements to the handicap here. Number one, situationally, I think Philly has a nice edge. On the bye 2 weeks ago, they haven't been on a plane since December 24th against the Cowboys. That's a comfortable spot to be. Meanwhile, the Niners had their bye week in week 9. This will be their 12th consecutive week with a football game. That sort of thing starts to add up. So keep that in mind when you factor in the cross-country travel to play a team like Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game. Number 2, health, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Both teams coming in relatively healthy. Eagles have 21 of 22 starters ready to rock and roll for this game. A lot of times championships are won, not by the best team, but by the healthiest team. Look over at the AFC Championship. What's happening with that point spread based on the Patrick Mahomes injury? All right, Philadelphia in a very advantageous situation. Christian McCaffrey, like we mentioned earlier, battling that calf injury. And then finally, Brock Purdy. He's going to be the X factor here for San Francisco, who's 8-0 since he took over at quarterback. Now, Purdy deserves his roses. He's been fantastic. Mr. Irrelevant, as everyone knows, last pick in the draft, a rookie who has played phenomenal. But I want you to focus on something. Of those 8 games he's played, only 2 have come on the road. 1 against Seattle, 1 against the Raiders, who rank 21st and 31st respectively in Football Outsiders' DVOA metric. What I'm getting at is that the rare times Purdy's gone on the road, he hasn't faced a good defense. Not the case here. He's taking on a Philadelphia team that ranks 6th in the NFL in Football Outsiders' DVOA metric, number 1 against the pass, vulnerable against the run. We'll get to that more later, but I think Purdy's going to be limited here against a Jalen Hurts-led offense that can throw, they can run, and they can play defense. So we're going to lay the 2.5 with Philadelphia. To the total, we go at 45.5. I'll be betting the under in this matchup. I see this game going one of 2 ways. It's either your classic Philadelphia win, where they get up early in the first half and then throttle down in the second half. All right, number 1 in the NFL in first half scoring, 15th in second half scoring. They build a lead, then they run the ball, they take the air out of the ball, they grind down the clock, and we escape with an under. Or option number 2, San Francisco wins or keeps it extremely tight. And I don't see this game being a shootout in that scenario. I don't see it being a shootout in general with San Francisco. I think if you're San Francisco, you want to run the ball here. You want to keep Brock Purdy protected, limited, not put him in a situation where he makes mistakes against a good defense, number 1 in pass DVOA on the road. Philly's weak spot is their run game. Kyle Shanahan loves to run the ball. In fact, both teams do. They rank top 10 in the NFL in rushing attempts per game. I think we have 2 teams that want to run, 2 teams that should have some success running the ball. You take the air out of the game, you keep the clock moving, and ultimately we stay under 45.5. Player props. Generally, we like to hand you 3 player props for the entire weekend. I'm giving you 4 just for this game. Number 1, Brock Purdy under 219.5 passing yards. Number 2, Brock Purdy over 8.5 rushing yards. Number 3, Niners linebacker Dre Greenlaw over 8.5 tackles. And then number 4, Jalen Hurts, yes, INT. Purdy passing yards under 219.5. He's averaging 231 per game this season, but he's going against the number 1 pass defense in the NFL. I don't think Kyle Shanahan wants to throw the ball a lot with him. I think he wants to run. Remember, that's where Philadelphia is weak. That's what Shanahan wants to do, protect Brock Purdy at all costs. However, Purdy over 8.5 rushing yards. He's averaging 12 per game in the playoffs. Yes, it's only 2 games, but this is where players put their bodies on the line. Keep in mind, Philadelphia has given up the 4th most rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks this season. Purdy over 8.5 rushing yards. Number 3, Dre Greenlaw over 8.5 tackles. He's averaging 8.4 per game on the season, but he's going against a Philadelphia team that ranks 3rd in the NFL in rushing attempts, which means more opportunities for linebackers to make tackles. Then finally, Jalen Hurts, yes, INT. It's a plus money wager around plus 108, plus 110, depending on where you shop. Hurts threw INTs in 2 of his last 3 games, but he's going against the best defense he's faced all year, who's recorded more interceptions than anybody else in the NFL. If you're looking to get involved in a teaser, I wouldn't play a same game teaser here because I like Philadelphia, so I wouldn't tease it through the number of 0, bad value. But if you tease San Francisco from 2.5 up to 8.5 and the total from 45.5 up to 51.5, and you bet the Niners in the under, I couldn't blame you. Again, I like Philadelphia, but I think there's value on that teaser. If you're looking to incorporate the AFC Championship, I think the Sharps are gonna play the Niners plus 8.5 with the Chiefs plus 8.5. It's your classic Wong teaser, which moves through the key numbers of 3, 6, and 7, all the way up to 8.5. I haven't decided if I'm playing that one yet, but I do know that that should be popular amongst some of the professionals out there. Finally, let's talk about a same game parlay where we can get some value, or at least some bang for our buck. Philly on the money line, so we just need to win, with Jalen Hurts throwing an INT. It pays plus 310, so a $100 investment would return $310 in profit, or a $10 investment would return $31 in profit. I know it seems a bit counterintuitive for Philly to win and Hurts to throw an INT, but that's how I see it playing out based on what I laid out earlier. Remember, Niners, number 1 in the NFL in interceptions this season. They picked off Prescott twice last week. This is the best defense Hurts has faced all year. I think they're going to give him some complicated looks, but when it's all said and done, I do see the Eagles winning this football game. Thank you for checking us out. Remember, this was the NFC Championship preview. We also have our AFC Championship preview up on OddsShark, which is going to have you covered with everything you need to know throughout the NFL playoffs and the Super Bowl.